My alpha husband's ruthless revenge after my affair with his grandfather. Unbelievable story. John and Grace had always been a couple who thrived on their shared ambitions and professional aspirations. Both were deeply committed to their careers, often finding themselves caught in the whirlwind of busy work schedules that left little room for personal connection. John, a dedicated marketing executive, frequently worked late nights and weekends to meet deadlines and secure new clients. Grace, on the other hand, was a rising star in her field as a project manager, juggling multiple projects and responsibilities that often required her to travel. As their careers flourished, the couple found themselves drifting apart, their once vibrant relationship overshadowed by the demands of their professional lives. The lack of quality time together became increasingly evident. Dinner dates were replaced with takeout meals consumed in front of their laptops, and weekends that once held promise for adventure turned into opportunities for catching up on work. This growing distance began to take a toll on their emotional connection. John often felt a sense of loneliness, even when Grace was physically present. He longed for the intimacy they once shared, but the exhaustion from their hectic schedules left them both too drained to engage in meaningful conversations or activities. As the weeks turned into months, John started to notice subtle changes in Grace's behavior. She seemed more distracted, often lost in thought, and her laughter, once a constant in their home, became a rare occurrence. This shift raised a red flag for John, who began to wonder if their relationship was suffering from more than just the pressures of work. The turning point came one evening when John stumbled upon a pack of Grace's birth control pills while cleaning out a drawer in their bedroom. The sight of the pills sent a jolt of confusion and anxiety through him. They had previously discussed starting a family, and John had assumed that Grace was on board with the idea. The discovery of the birth control pills felt like a betrayal in itself, as if Grace was hiding something significant from him. The implications were staggering. He couldn't shake the feeling that her use of birth control suggested she was either not ready for children or, worse, involved with someone else. The thought of infidelity began to creep into his mind, and with it came a wave of emotional turmoil that left him reeling. As John grappled with his suspicions, he found himself spiraling into a cycle of doubt and insecurity. He replayed memories of their time together, searching for signs he might have missed, clues that could confirm or dispel his fears. The laughter they once shared felt distant, and the warmth of their connection seemed to fade with each passing day. He began to question everything about their relationship, wondering if Grace had been emotionally checked out for longer than he realized. The thought of her being unfaithful was unbearable, yet the evidence felt compelling. John's mind raced with scenarios, each more painful than the last, as he imagined Grace with someone else, sharing the intimacy they had lost. The emotional turmoil was compounded by feelings of inadequacy. John couldn't help but wonder if he had somehow failed Grace, if his dedication to work had overshadowed his commitment to their relationship. The guilt weighed heavily on him, and he found himself oscillating between anger and sadness. He felt betrayed, not only by Grace but also by the circumstances that had led them to this point. The once solid foundation of their relationship now felt fragile, and John was left grappling with the fear of losing the woman he loved. In the midst of this emotional chaos, John realized that he needed to confront Grace about his suspicions. The thought of having that conversation filled him with dread, but he understood that avoiding the issue would only lead to further heartache. As he prepared himself for what lay ahead, he knew that the outcome could change everything. The dynamic between them had shifted dramatically, and the path forward was uncertain. Would they be able to navigate the choppy waters of mistrust and betrayal, or would this be the end of their journey together? The stakes were high, and John was acutely aware that the future of their relationship hung in the balance. The moment John uncovered Grace's birth control pills felt like a seismic shift in his reality. As he stood in their bedroom, staring at the small, innocuous pack, a wave of betrayal washed over him. Confusion clouded his mind, and his heart raced as he tried to process the implications of what he had found. The pills were a stark reminder of the distance that had grown between them, a symbol of secrets that he had never anticipated. John felt as if the ground beneath him had crumbled, leaving him standing on shaky ground. How could Grace, the woman he loved, be hiding something so significant? The thought of her possibly being unfaithful gnawed at him, and he felt a mix of anger and heartbreak that was almost unbearable. In the days that followed, John's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. He replayed every moment they had shared, searching for signs that might explain Grace's behavior. The laughter that once filled their home now felt like a distant memory, replaced by an unsettling silence. Each interaction with Grace became fraught with tension, as he struggled to maintain a facade of normalcy while grappling with the weight of his discovery. The confusion was overwhelming. He wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but the fear of what he might learn held him back. The thought of losing her was terrifying, yet the possibility of betrayal loomed larger with each passing day. Finally, the moment of confrontation arrived. John could no longer bear the burden of uncertainty. He found Grace in the living room, her eyes glued to her phone, seemingly oblivious to the storm brewing inside him. Taking a deep breath, he approached her, his heart pounding in his chest. "We need to talk," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. Grace looked up, her expression shifting from surprise to concern. "What's wrong?" she asked, sensing the gravity of the moment. With a mix of anger and desperation, John laid the pills on the coffee table between them. "I found these," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Why do you have them?" "We talked about starting a family." The air in the room thickened as Grace's eyes widened, and for a moment, silence enveloped them. John watched as her expression shifted from shock to guilt, and in that instant, he knew. The truth hung heavy in the air, unspoken yet palpable. Grace's response was hesitant, her words tumbling out in a rush. "John, I can explain." But he cut her off, the pain of betrayal surging through him. "Explain what? That you've been lying to me? That you've been seeing someone else?" The accusation hung in the air, sharp and painful. Grace's face fell, and tears welled in her eyes, but John felt no sympathy. The emotional turmoil he had endured since discovering the pills erupted into a torrent of anger and hurt. As the confrontation escalated, John's mind raced with thoughts of what this meant for their future. The love they had built together felt like a fragile illusion, shattered by the reality of Grace's betrayal. He could no longer ignore the gnawing feeling that their relationship had been built on a foundation of lies. The emotional impact of this discovery was profound. It felt as if his heart had been ripped from his chest, leaving a gaping void in its place. In the heat of the moment, John made a decision that would change everything. "I can't do this anymore," he said, his voice steady but filled with pain. "I'm going to take legal action." The words hung in the air, a stark declaration of his intent to protect himself from further heartache. The thought of divorce loomed large, and while it terrified him, it also felt like the only way to reclaim his sense of self. As he walked away from the confrontation, John felt a mix of relief and devastation. The emotional weight of the discovery was crushing, yet there was a flicker of clarity amidst the chaos. He knew that he deserved better than a relationship built on deceit, and while the road ahead would be painful, it was a necessary step toward healing. The journey of betrayal had begun, and John was determined to navigate it, no matter how difficult the path might be. In the wake of discovering Grace's affair, John found himself thrust into a tumultuous legal and emotional aftermath that would forever alter the course of his life. The initial shock of betrayal had given way to a steely resolve to secure his financial future and protect himself from further heartache. He understood that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was determined to navigate the complexities of divorce with clarity and purpose. The first step John took was to consult with a financial advisor. He knew that understanding his financial standing was crucial, especially as he prepared for the divorce proceedings. Together, they meticulously reviewed their joint assets, debts, and investments, ensuring that John had a comprehensive picture of their financial landscape. This process was both enlightening and painful. It forced him to confront the reality of what he had built with Grace and the potential loss that lay ahead. John began to compile documentation, gathering bank statements, tax returns, and records of their shared property. He wanted to ensure that he was fully prepared for any negotiations that might arise during the divorce process. Simultaneously, John sought the expertise of a divorce attorney, someone who could guide him through the legal intricacies of ending his marriage. He chose a lawyer with a strong reputation for handling cases involving infidelity, understanding that this would be a critical factor in the proceedings. During their initial meetings, John's lawyer provided him with a clear outline of the divorce process, explaining the steps involved and what he could expect in the coming weeks and months. This knowledge was a source of comfort for John, who had felt lost and overwhelmed since the discovery of Grace's betrayal. As the divorce process unfolded, John found himself facing court hearings that were emotionally charged and often excruciating. Each session felt like a public airing of his private pain, and he struggled to maintain his composure as he recounted the details of his marriage and the betrayal he had endured. The courtroom atmosphere was tense, and John could feel the weight of judgment in the air. He was acutely aware of the stakes involved, not just in terms of financial settlements, but also in the emotional toll it was taking on him. During these hearings, John's feelings oscillated between anger, sadness, and a sense of empowerment. He was determined to stand up for himself, to assert his rights and ensure that he would not be taken advantage of in the wake of Grace's actions. Yet, the emotional scars of betrayal were still fresh, and he often found himself grappling with feelings of inadequacy and loss. The sight of Grace in the courtroom, her demeanor calm and collected, only intensified his feelings of betrayal. It was a stark reminder of the life they had shared and the trust that had been irrevocably broken. Throughout this challenging period, John's lawyer played a pivotal role in navigating the situation. With a steady hand, she guided him through the legal complexities, ensuring that he understood each step of the process. She was not only a legal advocate but also a source of emotional support, providing reassurance during moments of doubt. Her expertise in handling cases involving infidelity allowed her to craft a strategy that prioritized John's interests, focusing on securing a fair settlement that would protect his financial future. As negotiations progressed, John's lawyer worked diligently to address the division of assets and spousal support. She emphasized the importance of documenting everything, from their shared property to the emotional toll the affair had taken on John. Her approach was methodical, ensuring that every detail was accounted for, which gave John a sense of control in a situation that often felt chaotic. He appreciated her ability to remain composed and focused, even when tensions ran high. Ultimately, the divorce process became a journey of self-discovery for John. While the legal proceedings were undoubtedly challenging, they also forced him to confront his own emotions and desires. He began to realize that this experience, painful as it was, could serve as a catalyst for personal growth. With the support of his lawyer, he started to envision a future beyond the heartbreak, one where he could reclaim his identity and build a life that was authentically his own. As the final court hearing approached, John felt a mix of apprehension and relief. The end of his marriage marked the conclusion of a chapter filled with love, betrayal, and heartache, but it also signified the beginning of a new journey. With the guidance of his lawyer and the lessons learned from this experience, John was ready to embrace the future, determined to emerge stronger and more resilient than ever before. The revelation of Grace's affair sent shockwaves through her life, leading to consequences that would forever alter her personal and professional landscape. The most immediate and devastating impact came from a leaked video that surfaced online, capturing a moment of intimacy between Grace and her lover. The video quickly went viral, and the fallout was swift and brutal. Grace's reputation, once built on hard work and dedication, crumbled before her eyes. Colleagues and friends who had once admired her began to distance themselves, and the whispers of betrayal echoed in every corner of her professional life. The humiliation was palpable, and Grace found herself grappling with the harsh reality of public scrutiny. As the video circulated, Grace faced a barrage of negative attention. Social media became a relentless platform for judgment, with strangers and acquaintances alike weighing in on her choices. The comments ranged from cruel to sympathetic, but the overall sentiment was one of betrayal. Grace felt exposed and vulnerable, as if her most private moments had been laid bare for the world to see. The emotional toll was immense. She struggled to navigate the shame and guilt that accompanied the fallout from her actions. The once confident and ambitious woman now felt like a pariah, haunted by the consequences of her decisions. In the wake of the scandal, Grace attempted to reconcile with John, hoping to salvage what remained of their relationship. She reached out to him, expressing remorse and a desire to make amends. However, John's pain was still fresh, and he was not ready to forgive. Grace poured her heart out in messages and phone calls, trying to convey the depth of her regret and the lessons she had learned from the affair. She wanted to explain that her actions stemmed from a place of confusion and emotional disconnect, but every attempt to reach out was met with silence or rejection. The realization that she had not only lost John, but also the trust of those around her weighed heavily on her heart. As the emotional turmoil continued to mount, Grace made the difficult decision to relocate. She believed that a fresh start in a new city might help her escape the shadows of her past and allow her to rebuild her life. Packing up her belongings felt like shedding a skin that had become too tight, and she hoped that distance would provide her with the clarity she desperately sought. However, the move did not erase the emotional scars left by the affair. Grace found herself grappling with feelings of isolation and loneliness in her new environment. The fresh start she had envisioned quickly became a reminder of her mistakes, and the weight of her choices followed her like a shadow. In her new city, Grace sought therapy to help process the emotional fallout from the affair. She needed a safe space to explore her feelings of guilt, shame, and regret. Through therapy, she began to understand the underlying issues that had contributed to her actions. Grace realized that her affair was not just a moment of weakness, but a manifestation of deeper insecurities and unmet needs within her marriage. This realization was both liberating and painful. It forced her to confront the parts of herself she had long ignored. The emotional toll of the affair was profound. Grace experienced waves of anxiety and depression, often feeling overwhelmed by the weight of her choices. She struggled to find a sense of belonging in her new surroundings, haunted by the memories of her past. The shame of her actions lingered, and she often found herself withdrawing from social situations, fearing judgment from others. The once vibrant and ambitious woman felt diminished, as if the affair had stripped her of her identity. Despite the challenges, Grace was determined to rebuild her life. She focused on her career, seeking new opportunities that would allow her to channel her energy into something positive. However, the shadow of her past continued to loom large, and she often felt like an imposter in her own skin. The journey toward self-forgiveness was long and arduous, but Grace was committed to understanding herself better and making amends for her past mistakes. As time passed, Grace began to find solace in her new life. She forged new friendships and slowly started to regain her confidence. The process of healing was not linear. There were days filled with self-doubt and regret, but there were also moments of clarity and growth. Grace learned to embrace her imperfections and acknowledge the lessons that came from her experiences. While the consequences of her affair would always be a part of her story, she was determined to write a new chapter, one defined by resilience, self-discovery, and the hope of redemption. Leonardo had always believed he was living the dream. With a successful career as an architect, he had built a reputation for his innovative designs and meticulous attention to detail. His days were filled with meetings, blueprints, and the satisfaction of seeing his visions come to life. But it was his life outside of work that truly brought him joy. He shared a beautiful home with Clara, his wife of 5 years, in a picturesque neighborhood lined with blooming cherry blossom trees. Their life together seemed idyllic. They often hosted dinner parties for friends, traveled to exotic destinations, and enjoyed quiet evenings filled with laughter and love. Clara was not only his partner but also his best friend, and together they painted a picture of a perfect life. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly flawless existence, cracks began to appear. It started subtly, with small changes in Clara's behavior that Leonardo initially brushed off as the result of a busy work schedule. She had recently taken on a demanding project at her job as a marketing executive, which required her to work late nights and weekends. At first, Leonardo was supportive, understanding that her career was important to her. But as the weeks turned into months, he began to notice a shift in her demeanor. Clara seemed more distracted, often lost in thought, and her once vibrant laughter became less frequent. The warmth that had characterized their evenings together began to fade, replaced by an uncomfortable silence that hung in the air. Leonardo's suspicions grew when he noticed Clara's phone habits changing. She had always been open about her phone usage, often sharing funny texts or interesting articles with him. But now, she was more secretive, frequently texting late at night and quickly putting her phone away whenever he entered the room. He tried to dismiss these thoughts, convincing himself that he was being paranoid. After all, they had built a strong foundation of trust, and he didn't want to jump to conclusions without evidence. Yet, the nagging feeling in the back of his mind persisted, growing louder with each passing day. One evening, as they sat down for dinner, Leonardo decided to address the growing distance between them. "Clara, is everything okay?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. "You've seemed a bit off lately." Clara looked up, her fork pausing midair, and for a moment, Leonardo thought he saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Fear, perhaps, or guilt. But she quickly masked it with a smile. "I'm just busy with work, Leo." "You know how it is," she replied, her voice steady but lacking the warmth he had come to cherish. Despite her reassurances, Leonardo couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. He began to pay closer attention to her behavior, looking for signs that might confirm his suspicions. He noticed that Clara had started to spend more time on her computer late at night, often shutting the screen when he walked into the room. The late-night phone calls became more frequent, and he could hear her laughter echoing through the house. But it was a laughter that felt foreign to him, as if it belonged to someone else. As the days turned into weeks, Leonardo's unease transformed into a growing obsession. He found himself replaying conversations in his mind, searching for clues that might explain the changes he had observed. He began to question everything: the late nights, the secretive phone calls, the sudden need for privacy. Each time Clara left the room, he felt a surge of anxiety, wondering what she was hiding. The trust that had once been the bedrock of their relationship now felt fragile, and the thought of betrayal loomed like a dark cloud over his heart. One fateful afternoon, while Clara was out running errands, Leonardo found himself alone in their home, consumed by his thoughts. He wandered into their bedroom, where Clara's phone lay charging on the nightstand. The temptation to look was overwhelming, and he wrestled with his conscience. He knew he shouldn't invade her privacy, but the fear of the unknown gnawed at him. Finally, curiosity got the better of him, and he picked up the phone, his heart racing as he unlocked it. What he found sent a chill down his spine. Text messages filled with flirtatious banter and intimate exchanges flooded the screen, each one a dagger to his heart. The reality of Clara's betrayal hit him like a tidal wave, and he felt as if the ground had been pulled from beneath him. The perfect life he had envisioned with her shattered in an instant, leaving him grappling with a whirlwind of emotions: anger, sadness, and disbelief. As he stood there, staring at the evidence of Clara's infidelity, Leonardo's mind raced with questions. How could she do this to him? What had gone wrong in their relationship? The suspense of the moment hung heavy in the air, and he knew that everything was about to change. The life he had built with Clara was crumbling, and he was left to confront the painful truth of their unraveling love. As the days passed after Leonardo uncovered Clara's betrayal, he felt a mix of anger and heartbreak that fueled a plan to expose her and her lover, Grandpa Tomas. The idea of confronting them publicly was both terrifying and exhilarating. He wanted to ensure that the truth was laid bare, not just for his own peace of mind, but also for the sake of the people who had been misled by their facade of a perfect life. The perfect opportunity presented itself in the form of their upcoming anniversary party, a celebration that had been planned for months. It was meant to be a joyous occasion, a testament to their love and commitment, but Leonardo saw it as the perfect stage for his revelation. The anniversary party was set to take place at a charming venue adorned with twinkling fairy lights and elegant floral arrangements. Friends and family were invited to celebrate what they believed was a happy union. Leonardo meticulously planned every detail, from the guest list to the menu, ensuring that the atmosphere was festive and inviting. However, beneath the surface, he was preparing for a moment that would shatter the illusion of their marriage. He arranged for a projector to display a slideshow of their memories together, but he had a different presentation in mind for the grand finale, a video that would reveal Clara's infidelity and her relationship with Grandpa Tomas. As the evening of the party arrived, Leonardo donned a smile, masking the turmoil within him. Guests arrived, filling the room with laughter and chatter, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to unfold. Clara, radiant in a beautiful dress, greeted their friends with warmth, completely oblivious to Leonardo's intentions. He watched her interact with their guests, her laughter ringing through the air, and felt a pang of sadness. This was the woman he had loved, the woman he had built a life with, and yet here she was, betraying him in the most profound way. When it was time for the slideshow, Leonardo took a deep breath, his heart racing. He gathered everyone's attention and introduced the presentation, speaking about the memories they had shared over the years. As the images flickered on the screen, he felt a mix of nostalgia and pain. The smiles, the vacations, the milestones, they all felt tainted now. But he pressed on, knowing that the moment of revelation was approaching. As the final image faded, Leonardo paused, allowing the anticipation to build in the room. "And now, I'd like to share something that has been hidden from all of you," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. He clicked a button, and the screen shifted to a video that he had painstakingly compiled. It began with innocent images of Clara and him, but soon transitioned to the incriminating texts and photos that exposed her affair with Grandpa Tomas. Gasps filled the room as the guests processed what they were seeing. Shock and disbelief washed over their faces, and the atmosphere shifted from celebration to chaos in an instant. Clara's face turned pale as she realized what was happening. The laughter that had filled the room moments before was replaced by stunned silence. She looked at Leonardo, her eyes wide with horror and betrayal, and then at Grandpa Tomas, who stood frozen, his expression a mix of guilt and shame. The weight of the revelation hung heavy in the air, and the guests began to murmur among themselves, their shock palpable. Friends who had once admired Clara now looked at her with pity and confusion, struggling to reconcile the woman they thought they knew with the reality that had just been unveiled. The emotional fallout was immediate and intense. Clara's composure shattered, and she burst into tears, her sobs echoing through the room. "Leo, please. I can explain," she cried, desperation lacing her voice. But Leonardo felt no sympathy. The pain of her betrayal was too fresh, too raw. He had given her every opportunity to be honest, and now, in front of their friends and family, he felt a sense of vindication. Grandpa Tomas, too, was engulfed in the fallout. The shock of being exposed in such a public manner left him speechless. He had been a trusted figure in Leonardo's life, a mentor of sorts, and now he stood as a symbol of betrayal. The weight of his actions bore down on him, and he could feel the judgment of the guests piercing through him. As the reality of the situation settled in, guests began to leave, their conversations filled with disbelief and whispers of betrayal. Clara, still sobbing, tried to reach out to Leonardo, but he turned away, unable to face her. The anniversary party, which was meant to be a celebration of love, had transformed into a painful reckoning, exposing the cracks in their relationship and the betrayal that had shattered their lives. In that moment, Leonardo felt a mix of relief and sorrow. He had exposed the truth, but at what cost? The emotional fallout would linger long after the guests had departed, leaving him to grapple with the aftermath of a love that had been irrevocably altered. Clara's tears and Grandpa Tomas's shame would haunt him, but he knew that the truth, no matter how painful, was the first step toward healing. The aftermath of the shocking revelation at the anniversary party sent ripples through the lives of Clara and Grandpa Tomas, leaving them to grapple with the consequences of their actions. The exposure of their affair not only shattered the trust between them and Leonardo, but also tarnished their reputations within the community. Clara, once regarded as a vibrant and successful marketing executive, found herself the subject of hushed conversations and pointed glances. Friends who had once admired her for her accomplishments now whispered about her betrayal, and the warmth of their previous interactions was replaced by a palpable chill. Invitations to social gatherings dwindled, and Clara felt the sting of isolation as she navigated the fallout from her choices. Grandpa Tomas faced a similar fate. As a respected figure in the community, his involvement in the affair shocked many who had looked up to him as a mentor and father figure. The betrayal of trust was profound, and the shame of being exposed in such a public manner weighed heavily on him. He had built a reputation over the years, one that was now in tatters. The whispers of scandal followed him, and he found himself ostracized by those who had once sought his guidance. The consequences of their actions extended beyond personal relationships. Both Clara and Grandpa Tomas faced a significant loss of credibility and respect in a community that valued integrity. For Leonardo, the exposure of Clara's affair brought a complex mix of vindication and loss. He had spent countless nights wrestling with his suspicions, and the moment he revealed the truth felt like a release. The weight of betrayal had been lifted, and he felt a sense of justice in exposing the lies that had permeated his life. Yet, alongside this vindication was an overwhelming sense of grief. The love he had once shared with Clara felt irreparably broken, and the memories of their life together were now tainted by betrayal. He mourned not only the relationship he had lost, but also the future he had envisioned with her. The pain of knowing that someone he had trusted deeply had deceived him was a wound that would take time to heal. As he navigated the emotional fallout, Leonardo reflected on the importance of honesty in relationships. The affair had not only shattered his trust in Clara, but also highlighted the fragility of human connections. He realized that relationships thrive on transparency and open communication, and when those elements are compromised, the foundation crumbles. The experience served as a painful reminder that love alone is not enough. It must be accompanied by honesty and integrity. In the weeks following the exposure, Clara attempted to reach out to Leonardo, seeking forgiveness and understanding. She expressed remorse for her actions, acknowledging the pain she had caused him. However, Leonardo struggled to reconcile the woman he had loved with the person who had betrayed him. Each conversation felt like a reminder of the trust that had been shattered, and he found it difficult to envision a future where they could rebuild what had been lost. The emotional toll of the affair weighed heavily on both of them, and while Clara sought redemption, Leonardo grappled with the reality that some wounds may never fully heal. As Clara faced the consequences of her actions, she began to understand the depth of her mistakes. The isolation she experienced forced her to confront her choices and the impact they had on those around her. She sought therapy to help process her feelings of guilt and shame, recognizing that she needed to take responsibility for her actions. The journey toward self-forgiveness was long and arduous, but Clara was determined to learn from her mistakes and emerge as a better person. Grandpa Tomas, too, faced the repercussions of his actions. The shame of being exposed as Clara's lover weighed heavily on him, and he struggled to come to terms with the betrayal of trust he had committed. He had been a mentor to many, and now he found himself grappling with the reality that he had let down not only Leonardo, but also those who had looked up to him. The fallout forced him to reevaluate his values and the choices he had made, leading him to seek redemption in his own way. In the end, the consequences faced by Clara and Grandpa Tomas served as a stark reminder of the importance of honesty in relationships. The pain of betrayal rippled through their lives, leaving scars that would take time to heal. For Leonardo, the experience reinforced the need for transparency and trust in any relationship. While the road ahead was uncertain, he knew that the lessons learned from this painful chapter would shape his future interactions and guide him toward healthier connections. The journey of healing would be long, but it was a necessary step toward reclaiming his sense of self and finding peace in the aftermath of betrayal. As we reflect on the stories of infidelity shared throughout this exploration, several key lessons emerge that resonate deeply with the complexities of human relationships. At the heart of these narratives lies the undeniable importance of trust and communication. Trust serves as the foundation upon which relationships are built. It fosters a sense of security and intimacy that allows partners to be vulnerable with one another. When trust is compromised, as seen in the cases of John and Grace, as well as Leonardo and Clara, the repercussions can be devastating. The emotional fallout from betrayal can lead to heartbreak, resentment, and a profound sense of loss that lingers long after the initial act of infidelity. Communication is equally vital in maintaining healthy relationships. Open and honest dialogue allows partners to express their needs, desires, and concerns, creating an environment where misunderstandings can be addressed before they escalate into larger issues. In both stories, the absence of effective communication contributed to the breakdown of trust. John and Grace's busy work schedules left little room for meaningful conversations, while Leonardo and Clara's growing distance was marked by a lack of transparency. These narratives serve as poignant reminders that neglecting communication can create a chasm between partners, making it easier for infidelity to take root. As viewers, we are encouraged to reflect on our own relationships and consider the dynamics at play. Are we fostering an environment of trust and open communication with our partners? Are we taking the time to check in with one another, to discuss our feelings and concerns? It is essential to recognize that relationships require ongoing effort and commitment. By prioritizing honest conversations and actively working to build trust, we can create stronger connections that are less susceptible to the strains of infidelity. The stories of John and Grace, as well as Leonardo and Clara, also highlight the potential consequences of infidelity for all parties involved. Infidelity is not a solitary act. It reverberates through the lives of everyone connected to the individuals involved. For the betrayed partner, the emotional toll can be profound, leading to feelings of inadequacy, anger, and confusion. John and Leonardo both experienced the gut-wrenching pain of betrayal, which forced them to confront their own vulnerabilities and question the foundations of their relationships. The aftermath of infidelity can leave lasting scars, impacting self-esteem and trust in future relationships. For the individuals who engage in infidelity, the consequences can be equally severe. Clara and Grace faced the fallout of their actions, which included damaged reputations, loss of friendships, and the burden of guilt. The emotional turmoil they experienced as a result of their choices served as a harsh reminder of the complexities of human behavior. Infidelity often stems from deeper issues within a relationship, such as unmet needs or unresolved conflicts. However, the decision to betray a partner can lead to a cycle of pain that is difficult to escape. Moreover, the impact of infidelity extends beyond the immediate parties involved. Friends and family members may find themselves caught in the crossfire, forced to navigate the complexities of loyalty and support. The stories shared illustrate how betrayal can ripple through a community, affecting relationships and altering perceptions. The fallout can create divisions among friends and loved ones, as they grapple with their own feelings of disappointment and betrayal. Ultimately, the key lessons learned from these stories serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of trust, communication, and accountability in relationships. Infidelity can have far-reaching consequences, but by prioritizing open dialogue and fostering a culture of honesty, we can work to prevent such betrayals from occurring. As we reflect on our own relationships, let us strive to cultivate connections built on trust and understanding, recognizing that the effort we invest today can lead to healthier, more fulfilling partnerships in the future. In conclusion, the narratives of John and Grace, as well as Leonardo and Clara, offer valuable insights into the complexities of love and betrayal. They remind us that relationships are not just about love. They require ongoing commitment, communication, and trust. By learning from these experiences, we can better navigate our own relationships, fostering connections that are resilient and grounded in honesty. The journey may be challenging, but the rewards of a trusting and communicative partnership are immeasurable, paving the way for deeper intimacy and lasting love. As we wrap up this exploration of infidelity and its profound consequences, let's take a moment to summarize the key points we've discussed throughout the video. We began by delving into the intricate dynamics of relationships, highlighting the critical importance of trust and communication. The stories of John and Grace, as well as Leonardo and Clara, served as poignant reminders of how easily trust can be compromised and how the absence of open dialogue can create rifts that lead to betrayal. We examined the emotional fallout experienced by all parties involved, emphasizing that infidelity is not just a personal issue, but one that reverberates through the lives of friends, family, and the broader community. We also discussed the potential consequences of infidelity, illustrating how it can lead to heartbreak, loss of reputation, and a profound sense of guilt for those who engage in such acts. The narratives we shared underscored the necessity of fostering an environment of honesty and transparency in relationships, encouraging viewers to reflect on their own partnerships and consider how they can strengthen their connections through effective communication. Ultimately, the lessons learned from these stories remind us that love is not enough. It must be accompanied by trust, accountability, and a commitment to nurturing the relationship. Now that we've explored these important themes, we encourage you to engage with our content further. If you found this video insightful, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, You'll stay updated on our latest discussions and explorations of topics that matter in the realm of relationships and personal growth. Your support helps us continue to create meaningful content that resonates with viewers like you. Additionally, if you enjoyed this video, we would greatly appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up. Your likes not only motivate us but also help others discover our content, allowing us to reach a wider audience. Sharing this video with friends or family members who might benefit from these insights is another fantastic way to contribute to the conversation. Infidelity is a topic that affects many, and by sharing this video, you can help others reflect on their own relationships and the importance of trust and communication. We also invite you to explore related content on our channel. We have a variety of videos that delve deeper into the complexities of relationships, including discussions on effective communication strategies, rebuilding trust after betrayal, and personal stories of resilience and growth. Whether you're looking for advice, inspiration, or simply a deeper understanding of the dynamics of love and relationships, we have something for everyone. Your engagement is invaluable to us, and we want to hear from you. In the comments section below, feel free to share your thoughts on the stories we discussed. Have you experienced similar challenges in your relationships? What lessons have you learned about trust and communication? Your insights can foster a supportive community where viewers can connect and share their experiences. As we conclude this video, remember that relationships are a journey filled with ups and downs. The key takeaways from our discussion serve as a guide to navigating those challenges with grace and understanding. By prioritizing honesty and open communication, we can build stronger, more resilient connections that withstand the tests of time. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video. Together, let's continue to explore the intricacies of love, trust, and the human experience.